Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do you a different kind of rose. It's a Floribunda rose. I have one in my garden that I've picked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you down to my board and I'm going to show you the rose that I'm going to copy and one that I've already made and partly coloured. So these are the cutters that I'm going to use for that particular rose, and these are out of the roses that I've used before for the last one. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, this is the actual rose that I'm going to copy. So that's the rose, and which is the one that I've coloured. That one, I think. And this is one that I've already made that I've coloured. This is a bit more open. That one hadn't opened, but the rain's knocked a lot of the petals off of all of my roses. So I haven't got one that's at the same stage as this. But Floribunda roses tend to open up and show the stamens in the centre, as opposed to the other types of roses that don't. For the HT roses, that's the word I was trying to think of. So that's one that I've already partly coloured. I haven't steamed it or anything yet, but I always do that afterwards. And when you start it off, I'm not going to show you how to do this because I've already done it with other roses. Your buds are done in the same way as they are with any other rose. They all start off at that stage. And your leaves the same as well. I've already made some leaves up that I've made here. So I'll come back to those in a bit anyway. We'll come on to the leaves, but you can see how I made those in most of my other videos. But I might do just one for people that are new watching my channel that haven't watched me before. So I'm going to start off by doing the petals. Now there's three different sizes of petals. There's the central petals, which are this one, which are very small. Then I've got two rows of this size of petal, and then I've got a row of 5 petals on this one. Now the way that I've matched the colour up for that, it's not a red that I've got in any of my colours, so I've had to mix my colours to get that. So if you want to achieve this sort of orangey reddy colour that I've got here, what I did was to colour my paste with peach, and I put quite a lot in, so I made it fairly dark peach, and then into that then I added a small amount of red extra from Sugar Flare, but you'll have to gauge it yourself until you get one, just by putting a small amount in at a time until you get it to the colour you want. But you can tell when it starts changing colour you're getting there. Right, so I've already coloured some of my paste, so I'll just get my little container out with all my paste in. I'll get the red out. I'll get a bit of green out because I'll probably need that later on. Now unlike other roses, I haven't started off with a dark colour working out to a lighter shade of it. I've done them all the same colour because the petals are quite thin. As the light shines through them you get that effect anyway because the rose is more open. So I'll just get some of this paste out when I can get into the bag. Don't forget people, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribing to the channel, and if there's anything that you'd like to see me do, or any comments about the videos that I've got, or any questions you want to ask me, leave them in the comments below. I always like to hear back from people. Some of you are quite good at getting back to me, leaving comments, so it'd be nice to hear from a few more people. So I'm going to rub some white fat onto my board. As I've said before, I never use powders for rolling out on. I use white vegetable fat for the simple reason you want your paste to stick on your board so it doesn't move around, especially when you come to doing ridges and things like that and other types of things. And I must have got something, hang on a minute, I've got something under my board here that's causing it to move. Yeah, I've got some wires there, that's what it is. Just bear with me a second, I'll just get rid of those, stop it from moving around. It wasn't doing it this morning when I got all my bits and pieces ready. Right, I'm only going to roll out enough paste to do one of each of the petals. As usual, I've already got most of my petals made earlier on today. They're not totally dry, they're still flexible. And when I'm doing things like this, especially when you're doing roses, it's good to have all your petals flexible. Especially I've already pre-shaped them to add on, so if they're totally dry, then either they won't fit, or you end up with breakages. So I'm going to use my trusty ridge rolling pin. If you haven't got one of these, use the ridge side of your on your board, the other side of your board. If you've got a proper board like this, always get one with the ridge side if you can. I know some makes only make the ridge side and then the plain side because they want you to buy two, but if you can find like this one's from Cellcrafts in York if you're in the UK, or if they sell them anywhere else. I know a few people have copied them, so you should be able to get hold of one somewhere. Right, so I'm going to cut out one small petal. Just make sure that's cut out properly, that's better. I'm going to cut out the medium petal. Now you want 3 of the small petals that I've just done. You want 6 of this petal that I'm doing. And then you want 5 of the large petal. I'm just going to put that back into my bag. Don't forget to do like I've just done, where I rolled up the bag with the paste in to get all the air out before you seal the bag. And then if you partly seal your bag, as I'm just about to do when I get it started, wherever it is there, do it from the other end. Leave a little gap like that and then roll the last bit to get any last air out and then seal it up again. Right, so I'm using 26 gauge wires for this, and I've got 3 pieces cut here already. You don't need particularly long ones because the centre is going to go on another wire and you're going to tape all onto that. So I'll start off with the big one first, when I can get hold of it. Right, hold it between your finger and your first finger and your thumb. Into the end, twist it in so that the tape doesn't unravel, and then feel it up the paste. Now I'm not going right up like I normally do with these, for the simple reason that I don't want the wire coming out of the paste. So I'm just going to put that onto my ball tool pad. While I do these others, again into the bottom, twist it in and feel it go up the paste. Now I felt it come out a bit there, so just pull it back and go back in again if it does that. You don't want it showing anywhere. And then the small one, and I've got some little straggly bits on there that I've managed to pick up. Get those off, and then again the wire just wants to go just into that bottom bit there, so twist it in. There we are. So I'll put those onto my pad so you can see them better now once I've got them onto the pad. So I'm just going to move those up there, give myself a bit more room, because if I catch the wires I'll knock them off, because I'm a right clumsy so. Move my magnet out of the way, everything's sticking to it. Right, so I'm going to go around the edges and thin the edges as you normally do. Put quite a bit of pressure on. You want that very thin on the edges because your paste is a little bit thicker with having a ridge in the middle. And do the same on all the others. If you can get hold of some of these rose cutters, do. I'm just trying to think where I got these from. If you just bear with me a second, I'll have a look on the box. Valley Cutter Company these are. I think, I might be wrong here, I think I got them from Vanilla Valley on the internet, so if you have a look on there. But a lot of people would probably be doing these, but they were quite reasonably priced for a full set, and you got a lot of cutters in it as well. There were 2 different sets of rose cutters, different shapes, ones with the heart-shaped petals and these. So they came in very handy. Right, so I'm just going to pop those up there for a minute, and I'm going to get my veinner wherever. Oh, it's there. Here we are. This is another veinner that I really like. This is a new one that I've got. I've used this for one or two of the roses that I've done in the past. Lovely veinner, and I can't remember I got the. What I'll do is I will put the makes in the my comments at the bottom. I'll look them up again and find them. So I'm putting that so that it's face down, and then I'm going to pull my wire down because it's bent over here, and then the top goes on like that. Give it a good press, then lift that out of the veinner. So you've already got some of the movement in the veinner there. I'll just get a fresh piece of foam down to put these on. I've got some bits of paste in there from some other flowers that I've done. They get a bit messed up after a while when you've had a lot in them. So what I'm going to do is, where the nipple is there in the middle, I'm going to put the petal down into there like that, push it down with the wire, and then just curl it back over that like that. So you get that dip there in the bottom, and that goes over the top. So if we get the next one, if I leave that there and put my veiners on there. So the next one, this is the middle one. So these, you want 6 of this one, 5 of that one I've just done, and 6 of this one. Get it the right way around. On, press, and lift it out, and then again do the same with that. So that goes down like that, and then over the back like that, and then with the small one again, put it right up into the top of your veinner so it shapes it. That's what I like about this. It not only veins it nicely, it shapes your petals because it's the shape of a rose petal. Now with that one, I'm going to go straight down into the dip there. Just bring that a bit further over and push it right down into the dip like that. So that's more cupped at the bottom because that's going to cup in over the stamens. Right, so that's the petals. So you put those to one side and let them set a bit. They don't need to be dried, but they do need to be firm up so that they'll stand up when you start putting everything together. And if I can find where I've put my cotton, I'll put it back in there. Yep, see it. Here we are. So again, cheap stamens. You know me, I don't use bought stamens unless it's something that only has 2 or 3 stamens in it. When there's a lot of stamens in them, like these have, and certain other flowers like poppies and anemones and stuff like that sort of thing, I like to use my cotton. So I'm only going to do this for one. So if I manage to do this, I'm going to do it over 2. No, I'll do it over. No, I'll do it over 2 fingers. I can trim it. Keep 2 fingers together. This is just for one flower. With the others, because I did 2 of them, I did it over 3 or 4 fingers, I can't remember. Right, so I'm going to stop talking now and I'm going to start counting because I've got to do a lot, because I did about 80 overs for this, so I've done about 3 or 4 there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7. Right, that's enough. So take that off your fingers Then you want a wire to put on that, a thin wire. Usually when I'm doing things like that, I put it onto like a 33 gauge wire or something like that. I've just picked a wire that was up at the side of me here. So if you put your cotton on like that, bring it over and together, and then start to twist. Onto your wire. Now this is going to be far too long. So I've got some nail scissors here somewhere I've had out, wherever they are. Get the other pair out, can't see them. So just go in like that and cut that, take that off. Now this is going to be far too long. I could have got 2 out of that, so I'm going to have to take quite a lot off here. But what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to tape it onto the wire, because we want your stamens to stand upright. So find out which is the stickiest side of my tape. That side. So if you start it off underneath your cotton and then bring it up onto your cotton like this, keep it at an angle up so that it holds all your cotton together at the bottom there. Then you can tape down from there onto your wire. So the cotton goes down to there, and then when I stiffen all this up, which I'm going to do in a bit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my barber bit and get it between my finger and my thumb, get my scissors, and I'm going to lop a lot of that off. Fortunately I've got loads and loads of cotton, so I don't usually like to waste. I don't waste as much as this normally. Then I'm going to turn it round the other way. Anybody who does hairdressing will know what I mean. I've watched my barber doing it when he's doing my hair. Which is very short these days. I don't have it long anymore. That's probably still a little bit too long, so I'm just going to take a little bit more off of there. That's a bit better. Right, so we'll get rid of all those bits there. Into my bin. Then if you get something with a sharp end that you can open it out with, just tease it out a bit. You need to do this a bit before you start spraying it with hair lacquer, which is what I use to stiffen up my cotton. So I've opened it up like that. I'll get my hair lacquer off of my shelf here. And I always use the can't even say it. Maximum hold. I've been out shopping today, so just excuse me, I'm going a bit doolally. Right, so give it a good shake. Then I'm going to take it away and then spray downwards. Go all the way around and go into the top as well. Now that's a bit soft, is that, so it'll take a little while to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that to one side for now to dry, and I'm just going to get some kitchen roll out to wipe my hands, because I've just got hair lacquer all over my fingers. There we are. We can get rid of that, put that back up there. So that's the stamens made. So while they're drying, I'm going to get on to next I want a wire, a thicker wire, that I'm going to fasten the stamens onto. So while they're drying I can do that. No, I haven't got a bit there. I'll have to get another wire out. I thought I'd got one. Oh yes I have, I've got one there, look. I did get one out. So I'm just going to take a bit more off of that. Where are my wire cutters? I put everything out in front of me and I'm always losing things, and they're usually right under my nose when I can't find things. Anybody that's watched my video before, I'll be used to this. And I knocked some stuff on the floor earlier. That could have been one of them. Anyway, I'll use my florist scissors. I don't want that wire to be quite as long as it is, so that's it. Take a bit off, put that back in there. So I'm going to get my stem tex. That's folded over, so I want to open this out. So that it's usable. That's the sticky side. Always check it on your finger to see which side sticks to your finger, and then that's the side that wants to go up against your wire before you start rolling it on. Just bring that right up to the top. There we are, and go back down again. Right, so while that's drying, I'm just going to tape that onto this wire. Bring that back up again to hide the top of the wire there. Not that you're going to see it when I get all the petals on anyway, but it's nice to be neat and make sure that everything is as you want it, because you don't know who's going to see what, especially when you go into competitions, which I have done, because they don't miss a thing, believe me, they don't. So that's fully taped onto the wire. I don't need to go right down to the bottom with that. Just straighten that up at the bit at the top. Right, let's have a look at this. No, it's still a little bit wet, but what I can do is try and open this out a bit. Oh, that's happening. What I'll do is, since this hasn't dried properly, I'll quickly do a leaf for those that haven't watched me before. Right, so I'm going to stand that up in my foam out of the way. Move that tape, move all my bits and pieces, and then if you're doing life-size flowers, you do need larger cutters to do your flowers. So I have, when I find where I've put it, an extra large cutter. This is the size of it. So that sort of finishes off after my largest ones in my normal set. So I'm using the middle and the large one out of my normal set, plus this larger one for the end leaf. So you get a leaf that is that big. Right. So I want some green paste. And I'm just going to cut one leaf out. I'm just going to do a big one. And I haven't left any leaves to colour, but you can see how I colour the leaves in my other rose videos. They're all the same. It's just a matter of playing about with it. You can do what you want with it, you know, because it's your flower. So if you want to do it slightly differently to me, then oh, it's there, look. I knew I had one there. What I've done with that is actually I've squashed it a little bit in so it's a bit narrower, if you can see the difference. That's how it came, that's how it is now. So all I do is just very carefully squeeze it. But with these metal cutters you need to be careful, because generally that's where they're soldered at the top there. And if you squeeze too hard, that can come undone, and they're difficult to repair if that happens. So just be careful with that. So I'm going to start rolling my paste out, and I haven't got any white fat on my board. It's not sticking as much, so we'll put a little bit on there. That's better. Just rolls out a lot easier. Paste stays where it is. You don't pick it up and move it around. You just leave it on your board. You don't need to do anything with it. It will stay put if you put white fat underneath it. Also keeps your paste from drying out as well. That's why I don't use powder. Right, so then I need to make my ridge up the centre. And then get my cutter and cut out the leaf. Make sure you put plenty of pressure on it. If you find that it's hurting your hands, get a coaster or something like that and put it on top of it. That helps if you're cutting a lot out, because your fingers can get a bit sore. And then always make sure you pull up with the points away. So don't pull it that way, you'll pull it back the wrong way. So as I sometimes say, do as I say, not as I do. Now this, oh no, that'll be alright. I'm not going to do anything with this anyway, so it would normally have some more. So again, twist it into the bottom. This time I want the wire to go as far up as I can get, so just a little bit at a time, just moving it further up your finger so you can keep control. You can feel the wire going up your paste. Then if it wrinkles up like that, just pull it back down again, like that. And then just get rid of that. I'm just going to roll that out for now because I need it again anyway, so it'll be alright there. Then onto your pad, and then with your ball tool or your dog bone tool or whatever else you use for thinning your edges, thin the edges. I start from the bottom and go up the way that the points are going with leaves when you've got a shape like this. Otherwise you lose the shape, the pattern on your leaf when you're doing that. Right, so get rid of that. And then I've got, whoops, just dropped one of my cutters on the floor. Fortunately it's not one that I'm using. So now if you start with your back part of your veiner, which is the one with the groove in, turn your leaf over with the ridge into the groove, like that, and then your top goes on, like that. Give it a good press, and then you've got your leaf veined. Just bring that pad down again, and then that goes into your pad to shape your leaf. You can bring that back a bit further so your leaf curls back a bit if you want. So you get some leaves are quite flat in reality. Let's just have a look at that rose. I'll show you real leaves. A lot of these are a bit scabby on here. On this one they've only got 3 on here. I might try and make some veiners out of them actually. They're quite nice veining on them. Sorry, I'm going off half-cocked. And as you can see, there's a little bit of red just on the very tips of the leaves there, which is what I've already done with my leaves when I've dusted them. So I've dusted them, caught them a bit here and there with some burgundy, rich burgundy, which I'm going to use on the edge of the roses, and then I've gone over with rainforest green to get the green part, go over the whole lot, then varnish it with some leaf glaze. Right, so once you've done that, just get rid of all those out of the way, put those down here at the side. Need some more kitchen roll. I'm on my last bit here. Oh, I've got some colour on there. I'm just looking for a piece that I've got with the colour on before I did this. I don't want to have to go and get some more. Right, that's that done. So, next step is to finish your centre off, which this should have been stiffened up now. Yes, it's stiffening up a bit. Not quite as stiff as I would like it. It's taking a little bit longer, but where's my little tool? Oh, that'll do. That's got a pointed end on it. Anything that can open it out, it has stiffened up a bit as this. Just go in and just give it a bit of a comb and open it out. You can always play about with it when you get it into your flower, just to separate the stamens. And then next thing I'm going to do is, I've got my pollen here. For those that haven't watched me before, all this is ground rice with some powder colour mixed in with it. That's all it is. Cheap as chips. Don't go out and buy ready-made pollen. It's expensive. You can get a bag of this and you can make as many different coloured pollens as you want and they'll last you forever. I can't remember the last time I made this up. It's been there that long. Right. Glue. Just catch the edge of your stamens. Hang on, I'm going off camera. I'll just move my camera up a little bit. up there. Just going to knock something over there so you can see what I'm doing. So just catch the top of your salmons once they're stiffened up with the glue like that. Then I bring that here. There's my pollen. Get your salmon right way up, straight into your pollen, and there we are. That's your centre done. Just move that out of the way so you can see the centre. So there we are, that's that done. Right, so I'm just going to pop that on the edge there while I put my bits and pieces away, out of the way. Move my glue. Make sure you screw the top on your glue, don't knock it over like my students used to do, or I do sometimes. So I'm going to get all of my petals now that I made this morning. They're not fully dried out, these, but they're dry enough. I mean, if it's a warm day, which it isn't today, it's a wet, miserable day today. If it's a warm day, you could probably do them within an hour or so after making your petals and put them all together. Right, so I'll get my centre back, get my tape. I'm using quarter width for the simple reason, half width, for the simple reason if you do full width tape, it can get too bulky and make your stem too thick. So you're gonna have to tape down a few times in between, so it will build up. So the thinner your tape is, the less bulky it is. Right, so we find out which is the sticky side, that side, turn it over, start it off again, directly underneath the salmons, get your nail in and nip it together like that, and then just roll that on. And then we're going to start off with these small ones, so get your wire and bend that right down like that before you start putting everything in. See, these are still adjustable. And then, now that's gone the wrong way, just do that again. I think that's going to fall off, is that? So I'm going to leave that one off. I can stick that on it afterwards. I'll put the wire in. It did this on my first one, but I can readjust them once I get them all in. We have our little tricks for repairing things if things go wrong. And like I've always said, if things go wrong in my video, I don't edit it out. Because you need to know how to repair it if that happens. So since it's happened, I'm now going to repair that before we go any further. So I'm just going to tape down here a bit, bring that round. One's moved, that wants to go there. It's the only trouble with them being soft, you just have to be very careful with them. So I'm just going to tape down a little bit just so they don't move around. Take that off. That one's a little bit loose as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend that one back and bring that one in front of that. And bring that back up. So that should stay put there. I'm just going to put that into my pad up there. So what I'm going to do here is a little repair job. So I'll get some of my red paste. Can't guarantee this will work while I'm on camera, because usually you spend a bit more time doing it. And if you want to repair anything, the best way to do it is to where's me? There it is. Get a little bit of paste, get some glue onto your paste. Because the glue is made with Tylose powder, and so is the paste, so you're using something that's already in it. But basically, because the Tylose is mixed with water to make the paste, it works with your paste. Like that. Now normally when I've done this I would set that to one side and let that dry before I do anything else with it. Just bring that wire around there. So I want to get that onto that wire. Get it all around it. Oops. We've got another one that's on the move. I might have to come back and do this after I've put it all together and just get the, it's not going to say on there I don't think. Now I'm going to come back and do that when I put the whole thing together, because once I get my other petals on they're not going to move around. So, and they've come a bit loose with messing about with that, so this is what you've got to be careful of. So what I need to do now is to get my tape going underneath there again, and start by bending these wires down so that they're ready to go in. So down that way, done that one, down that way, the wires have got bent the other way because of putting it in the burner, so not facing the way that I wanted them to. That's another one there. I've done that one. So then I can start putting my petals in now. These, when I put these in, should hold those small ones in place, so then I can repair that one that came off the wire. So we're putting 3 in first of all. Once you've got those 3 in, you can adjust them once you've wires slipped round there on that one. So I'm just going to tape down a bit. The idea for taping down a bit in between each layer of petals is because you'll find when you put your next lot of petals on, they've got something to grip to, so they tend to stay in place a little bit better. It does help keeping them positioned. And I'll come back and repair that other one when I've got my other layers on. So back up again underneath. That just wants to move around this way a bit. And then the next layer goes in between the first layer. I think I've just lost another petal off there. I will repair this before I finish, and they will stay. Doesn't matter so much about then moving about once you've got these in, because oops, stuck to that petal. There we are. Goes up there. Then the last one goes in there. Just making sure I've got the tape right up to the top. If you haven't, just pull the wires down so that nothing moves around. I have got one that's a bit loose there, so we'll find out which wire that is. That one. At this stage you can alter things around if things are moving a bit and you don't want them to. Then tape down. So then come back up underneath the other petals, start your tape off again underneath there, like that. And then we'll put the last layer of petals on. Doesn't matter where you start with these because you've got 5 of them, so you're not aiming to get one wire in between a join or anything like that. But what you are aiming to do is to overlap them the same as you would on an HT rose. So that's going to go behind that. Because these petals are a bit bigger, they're a bit easier to get hold of. The small ones can be a little bit fiddly because they're so small, you can't get the wire very far in. You might even find, for those first 3, you might be as wise to let your paste dry properly. So if you do them in advance and let the paste dry properly before you put those in, then you won't have the problem that I've just had. Now that one's going to go underneath that one, so I just want to pull that one back down like that. Pop that petal in there, like that, and bring that back up. Secure that last one in, that's it. The tape's got a bit twisted there. And then I can tape down. There we are, right down to the bottom. Take your tape off and that's all your flower put together. So all I need to do now, just that wants to go underneath there. That's it. So that's all those together. So I'm just going to pop that down there for a minute and then make a little bit more of this paste up, and then I can stick these petals in. Just sticking them in the centre like that, they'll be fine. Not going to move anywhere. And nobody's going to be able to tell the difference anyway, they're not going to notice. Still a little bit of glue on there so we can work that into that. It's what we call in the trade gloop. We haven't got a name for it, so that's all we're calling it, gloop. But it comes in very handy for repairing things, so always make sure you've got a little bit of paste left over if you're doing anything. So just pop that in there onto that wire there. If I can get it to stay. Right, that petal can go in like that, and then the other one from this side here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the back of the petal. It might be easier doing it that way. Just put it onto there first. That's it. Then pop that down into there. That's it. And then if you just get into your stamens and just move them around, so open them out so that they're a bit more even in the centre of your flower, like that. There we are. Put together, repaired. So I'm going to put that to one side now because that's still soft. And I have got one that I have left to colour. I'll just bring these over here. Some other bits and pieces on. That one's been left to colour. Now what I need to do, sorry, I've forgotten. I need to put a calyx on that first. I'm just going to make a little calyx. I'm only putting a small calyx on this because on the back of the roses it hasn't got a big calyx on the back, so I'm not going to put a big calyx. I think as the flowers expand I sometimes put too big a calyx on mine, and looking at the roses in the garden they all seem to have smaller calyx on, so I'm getting a bit carried away. So I'm going to use one that size. So I'll get my green paste out. I need a small amount. Need a bit of kitchen roll that I used there. We'll just get rid of this off of here. That's it. A little bit of white fat. And roll my paste out. It wants to be quite thin for this. Now normally on a rose the calyx curves back on a rose, but unfortunately if we do that in sugar the danger is it's going to get broken. If you're doing it for a competition then you have to do it correct, botanically correct, but transporting things to competitions and that, all sorts of things can happen. Get the calyx, give it a good press. As I say, if it's hurting your fingers get a coaster or something like that to do it. Pull your paste away. This one doesn't have the little cuts in the side on this particular rose, so I'm going to do it the way that it is in the garden, so get that off of there. Onto my tool pad. Where's my ball tool gone? There. Thin your edges. I always start from the centre going out. Now another thing that you can do here to make it fit so it cups up, if you start at the end and then bring it into the centre, down the centre of each of your points on your calyx. Now if you were going to curve it back for a competition then you do it the other way around and do it so it goes the other way, and then you can ball tool a bit in the centre there. So forget that rose again. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some glue on the calyx. As I say, if you're doing a competition you have to do it the other way, so you wouldn't be doing this. Another thing that you would do with your flower as well when you colour it, if you're doing it for a competition and the calyx is curving back, as in curving down like that, then dust the inside with some white. So we'll just get those to stick up there. There we are. Pop that to that side. Then I'm just going to get a small ball of paste and make the hip, which is the back part of the calyx. So get the wire into the centre of that. Bring that up. And then I'm just going to put some glue round the top of the wire there and the calyx. Bring that up onto your rose like that, and then shape it round like that. And bring it down a little bit. Don't know whether I'm going a bit further away from the camera again now. I'm going too far that way. There we are. Okay. Right, so we can put that to one side to dry. I can then get the rose that I'm going to colour, which is this one. I've already put a calyx on the back of that. And ooh, let's get rid of that green paste because we don't need that anymore. Seal that up afterwards. Right, so we'll get rid of that. Bring my kitchen roll over with my leaves on. Just put those to one side for a minute. I'll assemble them afterwards. Get all the right sizes together. So for 2 sprays of leaves, what I've got in here, I've done 2 large ones, 4 of the smaller size and 4 of the medium size. So I've got sets of 5, although strictly speaking on that particular rose they seem to have sets of 3. But you can do 3s or 5s, you can do a combination of if you want. It's your flower, you can do it your way. Right, so get my brush that I used for my dusting, and I've got some burgundy here. I think it's just, yeah, it's just burgundy from Edible Art, or the nearest you've got from whatever make it is you're using. And then just here and there, not all the way around, just give it a little bit of colour on each of the petals. And the advantage with doing a rose this way, because the petals are wired, if need be you can open them out to do the inner petals. I think I need some more powder on there, I haven't got enough. No, it's the wrong one, it's this one, burgundy. So that's the colour that I'm using, which is quite a dark colour. And I've also used the same colour on the edge of the leaves as well. So onto your brush, off your brush. You don't want a lot of colour on because you don't want little speckles going where you don't want it to go. You just want to catch little bits here and there. I mean, you can spend a lot more time on yours than I'm doing here. I'm trying to be as quick as I can because obviously I don't want you falling asleep because you're bored to tears of watching me and listening to my voice. I have got some of my ex-students that watch, so if you're watching this, you know what I mean. Or any relatives that bother to watch my videos. I don't know whether they do or not. Probably the younger generation probably don't. See what their Uncle Tez does. There we are. Then what I'm going to do is, I've already brushed the leaves with some of this colour, which is, hang on, Ruscus is the one that I use for that, which is slightly darker than the one I usually use. But because red roses and burgundy roses and that tend to be a bit darker leaves and darker calyx, so I'm just going to brush down each of the points there. You don't have to brush it all over. It doesn't matter if you leave a little bit light at the edges either. It makes them look a lot more realistic than the hip. Just gives them a bit more definition. Because when the flowers are in the gardens and vases and things like that, light catches them in different ways. Right, I've got another one here. I haven't done the back on that I'd already coloured, which was this one here. So I'm just going to dust the back of that one because it won't take me a minute to do that. So even though I did these this morning, the points on the calyx are still moving a little bit. And if you want it to be really pedantic as well, I mean, particularly if you're doing a competition or if you're going to put them in a vase, you could dust all over your stems with the same colour as well, just to blend everything in. I'm not going to bother with this because it's a quick video, so well, it was a quick video, not anymore. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put those leaves together, and I've got some darker green tape. I don't know whether I've got enough here for this, but we'll see how we go on. So start off with your largest one. No, it's not that dark, it's a light green, isn't it? Start your tape. It's always a good idea to start a little bit lower down your leaf to get it going, so you don't catch it. No, I haven't got that going properly, have I? Hang on, which is the sticky side? That side. Got it wrong way around, that's why. Nip it in. Oops. No, it's doing it again. I've got the wrong side again. This tape is playing, excuse my French, silly buggers with me. More haste, less speed, as they say. Start it off, right? Once you start going, then you can push it up underneath your leaf. Leave the gap, and then you want your next size in, your medium sized ones, which is that one. What I do with these is I leave a bit of wire again so I don't catch the leaves and break them. Get that twisted round and start it off down, and then pull your wires down onto your tape, right up to the tape. You don't want any stems showing on rose leaves. Then I'm going to put in 2 of the smaller size. And tape right down, and then pull those wires down onto the tape and carry on right down to the bottom. Because of the size of this leaf, I could have used a stronger wire with this so that it didn't flop about like it is doing, but I thought I got a strong enough one, but obviously not. So when you're doing it, just use a stronger wire. I think I used a 26 on this, so usually with most leaves, the small ones, you can get away with a 28. But what I would suggest you do if it's a big leaf like that is go smaller again. So then I would go on to a 24 gauge wire. So I'll just do the other set of leaves. Nope, wrong side again. Should have checked it, shouldn't I? I'm telling you to check it and then I'm not doing it myself. Do as I say, not as I do. Push that up. Give it about that much depth in between before you put your next leaves in. Just put them both in together, you don't have to tape them in separately. Get that going. Pull your wires down. You pull them down individually to make sure you've got them right down to the wire. And tape down again. And then your small leaves. pull your wires down and tape all the way down to the bottom. That one's not waggling about a bit, so I must have got my tape a bit tighter. If you don't get your tape tight enough, that can cause petals and leaves and that to swing about. So again, open out your leaves to the side like that. Just be careful how you get hold of them so that you don't break anything. There we are. That's another set of leaves. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put them into the stem the way that they grow on the roses, because they do grow in clusters of these on the rose bush. So I'm going to use some full width tape for this. Whenever you're putting sprays together, you're better off with full width rather than half width or quarter width. So I'm going to start off by taping down this bud, because that's going to be the highest bit. Push that up underneath there, like that. And I haven't dusted that with any green, have I? So I'll just do that while I've got that in my hand. See, I haven't put any more colour on there. It's surprising how far powder colour goes. Just don't spill it like I did. It's a bugger to get out of your carpet. It's terrible, it stains like hell. And it'll take you yonks to get rid of it. There we are, that's that done. So again, I can start my tape off on that. I would normally use a darker green than this, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just using what I've got here. Right, so I'm going to put in one of my roses. I'll probably put that a bit further down. Tape that down a bit further. And put that in below. There we are. Then we'll put another rose in a bit further down. Just have to keep a tight grip when you're doing things like this, because they're a bit heavier. So just be careful and take your time. It's always a good idea to have some foam or something there, just in case you drop it. Before I put the leaves in, I'm going to tape right down to the bottom there. Then we'll come back up here and start that off again. And then put some leaves in. So I'm going to put the leaves in facing the flowers now, like that. And then I'm going to put another set of leaves in on the other side, facing like that. And tape down. Right, so I'm just going to pop those up there for a second. Oops, a bit heavy. Nearly dropped them then. Get rid of all these bits and pieces out of here. Get rid of that. Then I've got a glass here that don't have any whiskey in it. Then I'm just going to open these leaves out like that and like that, and pop those roses into there like that. There we are. That's not going to stay, isn't that? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of that out of the way for a minute and go back to my foam, which has got my other rose in that's done there, and some daisies I did in a video before, and just pop that into there like that. So there we are. That's my beautiful red Floribunda Rose that's right at the front of my garden, and people stop and admire it. I chop it right back every year, and it grows up to over 6 foot. It is this year. It's been in 45 years, so and it blooms like nobody's business. So hope you've enjoyed the video, and take care. See you soon. Stay safe.